Alrighty, so this is the latest version. You can see I've changed to gray plastic since I ran out of black. This is the latest version I have. The trigger is much cleaned up. The whole trigger assembly got a lot of help. I happen to have a pin in here just for alignment. Makes it a little tougher. It's not actually a screw to actually keep it held in there, but it's a good start. I added some more pins to the housing. I added a little block at the bottom to hold onto the spring. And I think I still want to extend this and add a bolt, which I didn't do yet. But it's still kind of trying to push apart, so I think we're going to need some kind of bolt to hold that. But it does work pretty well, so here we go. Trigger pull is still a little bit hard. I'm not entirely sure why that is. I'm willing to deal with that for now. But that's getting pretty good. The back here, I could also put a bolt back here. It's needed more in the front. But yeah, I think that's doing pretty good for a grip. Trigger's a little bit, the trigger itself is a little bit long. That's the, down position. So it could come down probably another quarter of an inch. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. I did have a little bit of trouble with the length of my sear. So I think I might develop some kind of jigs and whatnot to say, here's where you need to cut your sear. That wasn't too big of a deal, just had to, for now I cut it a little bit long and grind it down, right? I also noticed that, so I still don't have my sear glued in, which might be a good idea with the way this is designed now, because there's a little block to hold it and all that. So the sear isn't glued to the block yet, but what you can do is rough up the sear, because what happens is when you add the lubricant, it tries to slide. And since I've polished my sear, chuck it up in a drill and run it with some sandpaper. Since I've polished it up, it's slippery. And with the lubricant on it, it wants to slide. The block wants to slide on the sear, which is not good. What ultimately happens, it won't fire when you pull the trigger if it's slid. So for prototyping purposes, what you can do is where the block makes contact with the sear, just rough it up with a file to add some friction. So you can still move it if you need to, but it's not going to really move on its own too much. It's still prototyping, but yeah, I think when I was, once this gets to the point where it's done-ish or more done, you'd want to glue the sear block down. You don't want to glue the sear block into the sear or onto the sear. Yeah, so next steps. I am going to add that bolt. It's trying to push apart. It's not terrible. It's a lot better than it was. And I've test fired this a bunch of times, and I don't think there's any damage to the housing. So here, let's pull it apart real quick and look. I don't know, it's probably been dry fired 20 plus times, 30 times, just sitting here messing with it. Anyway, you can see there, right? Alright, take the grip off. And because of the way this is designed now, you can see which side is actually holding the sear and the spring and all that. So you can see it's the one with that block on it, the bottom one in this case. So I'm going to take the top one off very carefully. Careful not to lose the trigger. And you can see the insides there. Let me get a little bit closer and make sure you can see this. There we go. You can see the insides there. But yeah. So me actuate this. Yeah. So this one has the sear or the shaft collar in it up top. You see that? Let me take the T off. So here you go. And yeah, so also what I did, let me show you these. These are a couple, let me put this down. These are a couple calibration prints that I made to fit the outside diameter of the T rim. So it was really snugly fitting, and I just measured it with some calipers, and it wasn't, you know, it's a little rough to get on there, and it's really pretty snug. So I printed out some calibration pieces, these things, to get a better fit of that. So what I did is I just printed these out. They're in the vitamin calibration file, and I increased the size by 1/100th every time I printed one out. So that one's a little less snug. And I have this one, which is actually pretty good. This one's only like 1/100th off, but that fits right on there, and you can even twist it around. Whereas the other ones, there's no way. And then I printed these little shells, which are just, you know, they include the rim on them. So the idea is I can put this on here and see what the fit is like, and that's pretty good. I can put this rim on here, or this one on here, and whoops, sorry. So I have both of these on there, you know, and I can actually grip it and squeeze it pretty tightly and twist, which is kind of what I want. I want it to be, you know, fairly tight, but not so tight that you can't remove them without tools. Because before I had to pry them off. So that's actually pretty good. I'm really happy with that. And there's now some calibration, some vitamin calibration stuff in the files for you. I'm also going to add another calibration piece, or at least a jig, for the sear, for the length of the sear, because it took me a little bit of fiddling to get that. So yeah, I'll add a you know, blocking and print for that. You'll just drop a rod down in there and mark it. That's where I need to cut. There's not, because the trigger travel is not that long. It's a little over, I want to say, it needs to travel an 1/8, and I want to say it's a little over that. So it's 3/16, no, 5/16, something like that. So the trigger travel isn't that long, and when you put the firing pin in here, the sear has to be short enough so that when that firing pin is extended, you know, it's all the way out, or when it's released, that it can clear the sear. That the sear is low enough so that the firing pin can travel past it smoothly. So it's a little bit of fiddling to get that done properly, but I'll get you a calibration jig, or a jig to help you figure out how long it needs to be. So that's good. The spring right now, I'm using kind of a short spring. I cut off a chunk of spring. I'd like to get that a little bit longer, but I don't know how much room I have. So yeah, what's next? I still need to figure out a way to get the firing pin kind of captured in here so that I can also have a stock. And I think I might just do that at the housing of the T. So I have one that I drilled out, a little slot here, you know, drilled and cut a little slot with a Dremel. So yeah, maybe I'll have that as like a way to actuate it. I might have to be back further here, but I gotta have some way at the back to stop that spring, right? So I'm gonna play around with some of those ideas. I think I might have to add that bolt in there. Yeah, I think that's about it for this time around. The file's a lot more cleaned up. I did a bunch of work to that, and yeah, I think that's it. I got some more PLA on the way. I got some pink on the way. I'm gonna have a hot pink gun. I think that'll be alright. Alright. So thanks for following this. If you do like this, make sure to subscribe and like and share and all that stuff. It helps a lot. I'm trying to get the word out. And if you have any ideas, go ahead and drop them in the comment section. Thanks.
Whoa!